Okay, welcome to part two of our basic opinion piece episode. So, the last day we were saying the idea was that by learning just five present tense of five key irregular verbs être, savoir, devoir, vouloir, and pouvoir, we were saying that even a struggling student with a small vocabulary can put together a basic but perfectly passable higher level opinion piece. Now, the theme was whether one can have great holidays in Ireland, whether there's no need to go abroad. And at the point we'd reached, so we'd said we have great scenery and interesting monuments and that sort of thing, but that we always do want to go to Spain or Portugal or whatever. And we'd said, where we stopped the last day, we said, c'est triste, it's sad, or étrange, alternatively, strange, or stupide, or idiot, something like that. So if we're carrying on from there, now if we want to say we have to discover or explore our own country, now we have to, if you did as I suggested the last day and learnt those five verbs, you may be able to tell us that we have to, then it's nous devons, that's devoir. Discover then, if you happen to know it would be good, is découvrir. Now if you didn't know that verb, we've got explorer, quite like the English, explore, or even just voir, just to see. Our own country then, notre propre pays. Now if you're not born in this country, hope that doesn't sound too parochial. So we must see our own country. Notre, by the way, is used for our, if the word is singular. If it was plural, countries, it would be no, N-O-S. Propre then means own. If you put it after the noun, actually, it would mean a clean, our clean country, but in front it's own. So we're suggesting we have to explore or discover our own country pour, in order to, so again, you have various options, comprendre, to understand, or apprécier, to appreciate, like quite a few French verbs. Appreciate, like the English, except for even ate in English, even er in the French, or just aimer, to like or love. Notre culture et notre histoire, our culture and our history. Now, if you didn't have any of these bits of vocabulary, découvrir or explorer or voir, we could simply say nous devons, we must voyager en Irlande, travel in Ireland in order to, as we said previously, or even just nous devons aller dans le Connemara et le Kerry pour, and so on like that, putting it that way. Now, we could say next, we're going to say it's true that the hotels and restaurants and trains are dear. So it's true, if you want to think about that for a moment. There's actually two ways of saying it. You got il est vrai, or as we said at the start up here, c'est vrai. Now it's a tricky little point whether to say c'est for it is or il est, and I'm actually not going to dwell on it just at the moment, but either would do in this case. So what are we saying? Il est vrai que les trains, les hôtels et les bons restaurants. So it's true the trains, the hotels, and the good restaurants. Now we want to say are fairly dear. So if you want to have a little think about that. So this came up the last day as well. Well, it's the verb être, to be. So again, if we're saying je suis, it's I am, tu es, you are. Now if it's hotels, trains, or whatever, we treat that like they, il or elle, sont is what we need. So it's true that the hotels, trains, and the good restaurants are assez cher, so dear enough. Assez is kind of enough or fairly cher. You notice needs an extra S. It's an adjective, a describing word, describing the restaurants and hotels, which are plural. Ici is here. Now, if you want to say, but if one is not rich, we're going to say you can cycle or take the bus. So again, if you want to have a little think about one is not, well, you can start with one is. Again, this brings us back to that same verb again, être. Crucial one to know, on est. Or then one is not, then on n'est pas riche. That's one option. Now, if you say if one doesn't want to spend a lot of money, now again, the verb to want is one of the ones I suggested you learn. So if you want to think about that, so with vouloir, one wants, it's on veut. Or as you can see here, on ne veut pas. One doesn't want. To spend then is dépenser. If you happen to know that, it would be good if you're spending money. By the way, when you have a main verb in French and a verb coming immediately afterwards, this second verb then will be what we call the infinitive form, the full thing with the er or the er in that case, or the ir is the usual rule. So a lot of money, beaucoup d'argent, or you could just say si on veut, if one wants, just to, without, if you didn't know, dépenser, whatever. If one wants, now we know when to say one can, one is able to go by bus or bicycle or do things cheaply. So again, if you want to pause and think, it was one of the 5 verbs. One is able or one can, that's pouvoir, on peut. Again, every time you use pouvoir, you're going to have a verb coming after it, and the second verb will be just infinitives. On peut voyager, in this case, travel en bus, ou à vélo, or by bicycle. A loger, kind of like to lodge or to stay, dans des auberges or hostels. Now, if you didn't know that bit of vocabulary, you could say one can manger à McDonald's or something. And the final bit, then we're going to say it is not a big problem. So again, the it is business, as we've seen, it can be il est, or it can be c'est. If you're not sure, if there's a noun coming up, it is a book, or it is a pen, or in this case, it is a problem, it's always c'est in that case. Or so it is not, we're going to say ce n'est pas un grand problème. Okay, and that kind of rounds off our simple version. Now, just to give you a finished, so we have various options and things there. So here's the finished, relatively simple, basic, but perfectly passable answer. So c'est vrai, we're saying, as regards whether we can have great holidays in Ireland and there's no need to go abroad. So we've said c'est vrai, it's true. Nous savons que le Kerry et le Connemara, par exemple, sont très beaux, et que Newgrange, par exemple, est très intéressant, mais nous voulons toujours aller en Espagne ou au Portugal. C'est stupide. Nous devons voyager en Irlande pour aimer notre culture et notre histoire. Il est vrai que les trains, les hôtels et les bons restaurants sont chers ici, mais si on veut, on peut voyager en bus ou à vélo et manger à McDonald's. Ce n'est pas un grand problème. So I hope that's all clear. If it's not, you could have another little run back through what we've said. And the idea then going forward is we'll take this basic but passable piece in the next couple of episodes, and we're going to see how you would bring it then up to H1 standard by introducing certain structures. But in the meantime, we'll leave it there. That's my email if you're interested in one-to-one lesson, €35 per hour. Okay, but that's it for now.